Hi, I'm Paul Aldridge and I'm here today down in Melbourne at Driver Classics to test drive one of their heritage fleet. So the coach that we're looking at here today is a 1983 DenAir Mono. It started its life in 1983, it finished its service in 2008, and I'm really looking forward to showing you guys what this coach is all about. So let's go and take a drive. So I've just started driving this coach, and you know, it's got a crash box in it. It's like I've only driven a few over my time, but I'm no expert, that's for sure. But I haven't ground the gears yet, but I've only gone up the gears, not down the gears. That might be another story. But this coach is so smooth. You'd be mistaken for thinking that you're driving something that was built in 1983. If it had an automatic gearbox in it, you'd probably think you're just driving something that's brand new. It rides so smooth, that air suspension is fantastic. In the early 80s, when this coach was built, the DenAir here came into play. But before DenAir was fully through the whole suspension, they were running leaf spring in the front. On the tag, they were running a airbag. They had a leaf spring on the rear axle here, but they wanted to get it perfect. So they ran it in the outback and tested heavily for a long time to get the whole suspension working. And to achieve that, what they did was they set the airbags right on the outside here. I don't know if you can see here in the rear. They were spaced out. So that really stops that roll, and it works really, really well. So when they built it, they wanted it to work, and did it work well? Yes, it did. One thing that I find with this coach, and anything I guess that I've driven from 80s onwards, there's not a lot of difference between 1980 and 2019 in the steering department. There really isn't a lot. Yes, the new buses may have a better turning circle, like cars in that sense, but road feel in some of these older buses is better. You actually know where you're steering the bus. I guess if you're like myself and you've got that experience, you're going, yeah, I know what you mean. But it just steers really wonderfully. I don't know if the steering box has ever had any work, but it just steers very, very well. So we're here at the heart of the bus. This is what powers this machine. It's a Detroit diesel V8 two-stroke engine. It's a model number 8V71. Now, when you bought one of these coaches, you were expecting to get 1,000,000 miles out of this motor. And if you didn't get 1,000,000 miles out of this motor, you would be disappointed. So that's why you bought one of these coaches with this engine. This engine has so much torque. I haven't really had a lot of hills, but you can pretty much drive it in top gear around corners, you know, without it jerking around and jumping around saying, hey, what are you doing to me, Paul? It's just got so much torque. So everything in this coach that I can see is so easy to get to. The battery box, look at the battery box. We've taken the cover off here so you can just see that is the battery box. It couldn't get any easier. If you're out on the road and you need to get jump start or jumps another coach or another bus, it was so easy. Look at these manifolds here. You could undo this manifold. I think even me, I could probably change that manifold in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's so easy to get to. There's even a cold air intake here for the alternator. I don't know, I've never seen that before. I guess the alternator's supercharged. As a coach driver, whoever drove this coach, or the guys that drove this coach, would have been so happy with the power. It's very well matched to the weight of the bus. It really is. Some of the things that Denning did back in the day that was brought to my attention by Gary Driver, the owner, and I've seen it in some modern coaches now, but it doesn't seem to be used as much as it used to be. In here is a sight gauge on the side of the fuel tank, and if you're out Birdsville track or something, you don't want to rely on that fuel gauge that's sitting on the dash. You could just come here and go, right, yeah, we've got half a tank, I'll be right for the day, I don't need to fuel up. A great feature. So here I am in town, and I've spent a bit of time on some sort of highway country roads, The brakes and the suspension in this coach is just so smooth. I don't know, it must be a combination of the DenAir ride system and just how balanced this coach is. It's a pleasure to drive, it really is, and the guys who drove this coach back in the day would have been very excited. Gary's very passionate about this coach, as he is about all the buses that he's got, and it's a credit to him that how he has looked after these coaches and brought them back to life and keep them running. What's really interesting with a Denning, and you've got to put it in perspective, we're in 2019, but in 1983, if you bought a coach in Australia, they were mid-engine. You didn't have this space. You had a boot space underneath the rear seats, and that space there did not fit suitcases enough for 48 people, 50 people. But look at the space that was in here. In today's standards, yes, this is very similar to a coach of today, but like I said, 1983, everybody wanted a Denning. Here I am sitting here. If you were a passenger back in the day, you would have been very, very happy with the quality. The legroom here is outstanding. Not every seat has huge legroom, but most of them are very, very generous. But looking at the aircon vents here, even today's standards, these aircon vents are in perfect condition, perfect condition. Some of these coaches, that have been running around, the quality then to today, this is up there, no problems at all. Very impressive. Okay, so we've just finished our beautiful drive of this coach today, and I must say, Denning were formed on a foundation of ruggedness and durability. It's a testament that this coach drove from 1983 to 2008 as a service bus. It travelled around Australia, it travelled everywhere. Would I jump in it today and travel somewhere? Most definitely. But one of the advertisings that they had back then in the day were, if you look twice, it's a Denning. And that's exactly, that advertising was right on point. And even today, if you see one cruising up the road, you would say that. If you want to find out a little bit more, please go and grab a copy of the ABC mag, and we'll see you on the next one.